Okay, we're rolling. I hope.
Take it away, boys.
We'll take minutes now.
Yeah.
We have minutes from the last meeting?
No. Although, if they read the transportation code.
That's pretty much minutes.
That's pretty
Yeah.
much the minutes of the meeting.
Hello, everyone. Don's going to take minutes. I just want to tell everyone, I'm going to put a hard stop on this one at 2:30. I got a doctor's appointment, so we got to adjourn it then, all right? Thank you all for coming. Okay, meeting's called to order. Do we have minutes to go over, or we're just going to make the newspaper article the minutes?
I think the newspaper tells everything.
Everybody read the article? The decline. All right, I see next is excursion buses. I think this is Bobby's
Oh, all right.
bailiwick. Since she did the last one. By the way, I got nothing but good,
Well,
nothing but good reports. Everybody had a good time.
people, the trip to the museum was fun. If you got a report from the organizer at the museum, she might have a different take on things. But people did have a good time, and it was a nice evening out, and it's a lovely museum.
How many people went?
37.
Wow.
Today was the sign up for the trip on June 29th to the Boca Art Museum. 24 people signed up, and tomorrow is the last day for signing up. As I mentioned here at the table, people were very, very positive about these trips. That if we use a little ingenuity and thought, that people are very pleased that we're doing things like this. On Thursday, I would like to present this for approval to the committee. On Thursday, November 10th, we have a tour scheduled for the Port of Palm Beach. We've been doing this for a couple of years, and the Port Commissioners have reopened up the tours again. There is no charge for this. We go, there's a presentation in their conference room. The commissioners will put out coffee and cake and donuts for us. And then, depending on the size of the group that we have, we will either tour the rest of the port in our own bus, or we will get on one of their buses. And if the time slots work out, I would like to take the bus from the port, Donald, and park over in front of probably 2J's at the outlet mall, and give people an hour to have lunch over there and meander around, and then be back here by 3 o'clock.
Okay.
So that's,
Is this a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that I get a bus on Thursday, November 10th.
Second.
Okay, we're in discussion. Anybody have any?
Anything to say?
I've been on this. I took this one.
It's very interesting.
Especially they show, you know, those big things, because how big
The
the
port.
port is, because a terrorist could come in. I mean,
It's really very, and by the way, the commissioner told me, I asked her about the cruise ship that's going out again. What's his name? Jimmy Buffett supposedly bought the ship. They're taking reservations, but he cannot get staff, and it's really at a standstill. So she said,
Phyllis could be cruise director.
no, well, they might be looking, but they're having problems staffing.
Wow.
All right, so November 10th, can we put it on the agenda?
Got a vote?
Gonna vote on it.
Okay.
Vote. Who's calling?
How about all in favor?
Yeah.
Anyone opposed?
No.
Okay.
can I say something else?
Diane has another.
Gail and I are working on something for the spring for a trip. It is a 45-minute to an hour trip. It's in Lake Worth. It's a glass blowing demonstration. And It's in Lake Worth, and it's, they blow the glass and whatever, then there's a tour and how they fuse and whatever, and you give the gift shop, and they give you lemonade, and then we were scouting out restaurants nearby.
It's
So
like a
that's in the spring.
foundry where they have real artists.
Blowing glass. So we're looking into that also in the spring.
They did it a couple of years ago at the Norton Museum.
All right, does anyone have any ideas for maybe July, August?
September, I'm thinking of trying to get something going for the Holocaust Education Center down in Dania Beach.
Okay.
The problem is also, they have no facilities for dining, and I have to scout out malls in the, in the area where the bus can stop and we
There's
can
no
go.
snack bar in the
No.
Holocaust Memorial?
No, hard to believe. But, so, I mean, that's a possibility too. It's not a Holocaust memorial, it's an education center. And when they opened, all of the exhibits were written in Spanish also, so that Spanish-speaking people could go and learn also. So I think it might be in.
Ed had a question.
Oh, you said, does anybody else have a suggestion?
Yeah,
I would like to suggest a trip to Cape Canaveral. It's within the parameters of a trip. It's an interesting trip. And if you, it could be no expense if you schedule it for a liftoff.
is that right?
Or you just park and watch it. I'm not necessarily recommendation for the museum because I think the cost is outrageous. It's $75 a person.
Looks like 125 miles from here.
It's about 2 hours and change.
And direction was,
I wouldn't know where to begin. There must be limitations of where you can park a
Early
bus
come,
to the.
early go.
Yeah, and
No limitations.
maybe Ed, when you have nothing to
Oh,
do,
good
maybe
afternoon.
you'll do a
Excuse
little.
me?
hey, come on in, Mario.
Maybe when
I'm
you
sorry, I
have a 3
confused that and I
minute.
go straight to
Do
the
a
glass.
little invest.
I can't hear
I
you.
said, maybe when you have a 3 minute, do a little investigating. I don't know if you have to call.
I did a preliminary or else I wouldn't have recommended it. And that's why I put the caveat that they take $75 to see the museum. So I'm not necessarily recommending it unless you could get us a better deal.
They have a group rate.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll look into it.
what does everybody else think?
I think-
Very interesting.
I think the problem is, I mean, you can make arrangements to go, and 20 minutes before liftoff, it's canceled, and there you are.
Well, that could happen. It's the luck of the draw, but I'm sure it's still a nice ride and you can do it within the parameters that you mentioned. But I don't think you have to stick to that parameter because you said an extra hour cost us $90. But it's part of your budget.
It looks like 2.5 hours each way.
So it's up to you.
I
I'm just
will look into
recommending it.
Thank you.
And does anyone else, I mean, really, we're open to anything. If you guys think you'd like to go see something, bring it up.
Tour of Century Village.
I take that tour every morning.
Take that every day.
Yeah.
Is the zoo still operational?
Yeah, sure.
It's a possibility.
I like the zoo.
Anyone cares?
Science Museum.
That's close.
That's all I have on this.
All right, well, everybody, we all occasionally leave the village. If you think it might be something a group would like to do, bring it. Let's look
Yeah, I
into it.
tell
all
that
right?
to people every day when they sign up.
All right, I guess that's it for excursion buses. Do you have any old business we have to deal with?
No, not that I
No?
know.
Didn't we have something about signs in the windows?
Signs.
Yeah, on the buses.
Oh, yeah.
The route sign.
The road sign.
Mario, I think I saw new signs up. Did that happen?
We have the same rate.
Yeah.
So we are working on the frame
Okay.
for put on the buses. So I think in the next week we have ready all the buses. I think it's a good size.
I can see it here.
We go to put one on the back and one on each side.
All right, any other old, yeah,
No, I'm waiting to
Wanna go
talk
new?
about old business.
we're in old or new? What do you got?
I got something.
Huh?
I mean, I don't know, complaints that I've heard about buses, is that now or at another? I was at the,
Why don't we do, we're in new business.
all right, I was at the pool one day and Ruth, when you write your minutes, I think this committee needs a little positive public relations. This woman ranted to me, I don't know who signed this bus contract.
There
It's a
there it
little-"
is, right there.
No, so I said, just a minute. I was on the committee, and the committee worked very hard, and there were only a couple of companies, that put in bids, and we have done the best we can. And then the pandemic set in, and it changed a lot of things, and we can't get the buses that we want. Well, she calmed down a little, but she said, those seats are so uncomfortable, and they're so small. I don't know, I don't ride the buses, is that true? I
It is.
said,
Why
we're
don't you-
looking
why
to
don't you
get
take
the,
a ride on a bus
And I'm parking lounges, and by the way,
how far
I,
is she going?
true to my word, in the last minute, I actually took the number 2 bus on Sunday night. The seat was a little narrow from my,
Well, I tried to explain to this
yeah, we
woman
say took us.
that we're trying to get newer buses, but the world situation
But I don't know if
is,
the seat width is gonna, But I
so,
mean, how long did it take me to get from the clubhouse back to my house in Chattahoochee?
that's right. So,
About 20
Ruth, when
minutes.
you write your minutes, you might wanna
I
just,
don't write minutes, I write a
that-
column in the paper.
right.
Minutes, that's
or
all.
what, but I mean, maybe
Yeah.
it should say, remind everybody that
That.
the committee has worked very hard, and we've done the best we can, and, roll with it.
I didn't feel comfortable enough to take a nap, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you're not taking
Yes, sir.
Are we on the buses or new business?
Yeah, we've slapped right into it.
Well, if we're on the buses, I have a comment. As the treasurer of UCO, you did work very hard on the contract, and I've gone through that contract, and I've recommended that contract very clearly states that we were supposed to get newer buses. For my focus, I have no report except Donald saying maybe we got one. I want to remind everybody and those who were on the committee, we had originally paid $45 an hour. For these buses, $65, and that number was because part of the contract clearly states that we are supposed to get newer buses. I looked at this and I said, the other company was new buses, so that was much more. I believe we're paying for newer buses. We have not got newer buses. The contract calls for dispute mediation. I did my own guess calculation that we paid 45, this is 65. Let's split the difference to 55 and $10 an hour for every hour that we paid for the buses should be credited to our account. I was opposed at the officers' meeting, and I simply said, if you leased the biggest Lexus that you can get across the street, and they didn't have it, and you continued to pay for it. Instead, they gave you a used Yugo. It's probably the only one left in the country. I don't think you would want to, out of your own pocket, continue to pay for the Lexus. And I feel, not that they are not trying, but that contract was negotiated during this COVID virus. The ability to get those buses I would have assumed that they signed the contract and they knew they could get them. On a prior meeting, I was told, we went all over, we tried to get them, and we can't get them. So, I don't feel that's something that we have to fight. I think we should have a dispute resolution meeting and propose maybe a variance of what I said. In addition, I've been informed that the contract calls for a coordinator, for a better term, and we don't have one.
Ed, I'm gonna stop you there. What exactly did you mean by that last comment?
Excuse-
A coordinator? Are you talking about the on-site coordinator?
I guess so, and I actually brought,
Mario, say hello to our treasurer. This is Ed Grossman.
hi,
Mario is our on-site coordinator from the.
okay, I don't know what your background is, but I can tell you this. This is a wonderful article that appeared in Pembroke Pines, who had buses for many years. Their recommendations which were brought forth by the on-site coordinator, was one, that they carry 1,220 people every single day at Pembroke Pines. They reviewed their routes, which at this point I don't think we did. I could be corrected. Also, I bring to the attention of this committee, when we started, we paid for the fuel. The fuel was around $3 and change. As of last month, it was over $4 and change, and I would suspect that it's going to be over $5 and change. And why am I bringing this up? Because I have observed 5 buses sitting there with the engines running.
You've
Now,
done this
excuse
before.
me, let me finish. I don't doubt that that was brought forth because the air conditioning. But I do know for a fact that these buses are not necessarily occupied by the driver. And I believe that's against the law to have a operating vehicle without a driver. In addition, I would like to get a report of how old these buses are, what their engines are, because I was told it takes forever to start them and it gets very, very warm if you turn them off. I don't think you need air conditioning in certain long periods of our climate. So therefore, I feel that we, which is UCO, which is everybody's money here, is entitled to an adjustment.
Hi, Don.
As far as I know, I've driven trucks before as well. If you drive a diesel engined vehicle, you can't turn it off because it takes so much longer to reheat the engine and start over
That's
again.
right.
And that's the
And
situation
That's
as it
right.
exists.
Diesel fuel needs to be pressurized and heated to 140 degrees before it's combustible. So when you turn off a diesel engine, it's going to take some time to get it back up to pressure.
Well,
Catch
That's
that right?
right.
I just want to respond by, I don't deny it, but I'd like to know,
But the diesel we spend here, when the buses is idling, it's no cost for you.
Right.
Okay? So it's not the difference now. If you're talking about the diesel price, it's true, is we never see this price on the market. For all is too hard for maintain all the contracts, all the trips, because it's too high. The table we have finished in 375, I think. So now we have to make a new table
Right.
for calculating the prices, because it's crazy and we don't know when this is stop. Every day we see the news is up, up, up.
And you're buying the most expensive grade of diesel. It's in our contract that it's the clean diesel.
I
So-
don't disagree.
We're gonna feel that in.
What, I don't disagree, Donald, and I hear what you're saying, which comes from experience. I still would like to know what buses have been provided to date, how old, what's the mileage, and who produced the engine. I think we're entitled to that.
I mean, out of those, I mean, this is just my opinion, Ed, but out of the 3 or 4 things you just said, the one thing that does matter to me is the model year of the buses, because that is in our contract, newer buses, and that's, obviously that's a,
Got the transportation.
what's that mean, right? It's a vague term. As far as the mileage and the type of engines, what do I care? I don't own them, as long as they roll. And take
Probably
what they have to
Cummins
go.
diesels, which is the most common.
Exactly.
All right, look, the term new, does it really say newer buses?
It's very
Very ambiguous term.
You asking me, David. right?
Newer than what?
It's very, excuse me, I brought the contract. It's very clear in the contract that they have not provided the buses that we contracted for. It's clear as day, and it also is clear as day that there is, without getting into a fight, a provision for mediation of this kind of thing.
Oh, Jesus, another $100,000.
No, it isn't, David. It's very clear. It's a meeting, there's a default clause, and it's not, I take a gun and shoot you. It's, we sit down and talk. And I think we're entitled to
Right,
that.
Ed, I think that this is outside of the purview of this advisory committee. You want to bring this directly to the officers.
I want to advise the committee who rides the bus. I don't know, I've been told you gotta bring it here, you gotta bring it there. But if I was sitting in those seats, I'd say the same thing. It's my money, it's your money, and it's money.
Ed, is there a motion? Do you have a
Well,
motion?
I'll make the motion, if
Sure.
no one wants to second it, that's up to them.
Okay, let's hear the motion.
I make a motion that we have a meeting according to the default, paragraph in our
All right.
contract.
Ed, can I tighten that up for you a little bit? Could your motion be that this committee make a recommendation to the officers that the dispute resolution clause in the contract be activated? Does that sound about right?
It's the same thing, and you said it much better, so you get an A+.
I'm getting better at it.
I know, I'll give you
Is there,
2
is there a
stars.
second to Ed's motion?
No one here.
All right, so for lack of a second, this fails, and we're gonna move on.
I may have made this very brief speech many times before, but I'm gonna make it again. Yeah, it's a pared down, simple bus, all things considered, but it meets commercial standards. I would remind you that this is $1 million plus contract. You wanna go to Greyhound, ultra luxury strata cruisers, just make the vote, and it'll be a $3 million contract. Be a lovely bus, really will. The seats will be like Barca loungers, you'll just love it. $3 million, give me a break.
Mario, if we brought these buses to the MTA in New York, would they kick you out? Would they say that these buses don't meet our standards? If you brought this to the, I know you have Port Authority contracts. If you brought this to LaGuardia, would they say no good, can't use it?
No.
That would be
All
the
the
same.
buses have to pass inspection. And these buses is complain with, they have everything to use. So we don't have any problem. It's a normal problem like your cars. Maybe one belt, one tire. For security, we have to do inspection.
DOT inspection.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, Phyllis?
Well, I'm going to tell you, the interior of the number 2 bus is not great. The front of the bus, when you get on, it's ripping, and the 2 back doors that they have in the back, there's One back door has a flap on the bottom and the other one is missing. All that cold air is going out that door.
So you're talking about the weather stripping around the rear
On
door?
the door, there's like a piece of black on the bottom, only on one door. And it's been that way for the longest time.
Mario, you take a look at that?
And
Yeah, but she's saying number 2. We change the buses every
Ah.
it
year,
was
so.
a number 2 bus, I wrote it,
Yeah,
and
but
I
it's not
tell
the
you.
same.
but it's not always the same
Anyway,
bus,
we go
though.
to check all the
Oh,
buses.
and the floor, when you get on, I don't know what it is, if it's rubber, but it's ripping.
But remember, we never use the back door. The back door is closed
But
all
we're
the time.
losing air, we're losing cold air from that piece that's missing this much.
That's okay, I understand what you say. I know what you're talking
And
about.
Phil, it's just to validate what you're saying, when I was on the number 2 on Sunday night, I noticed that wear pattern, so maybe we're talking about the same bus. But he rotates the buses through the
No, but I've
routes.
been on this bus before and it's the same thing. Okay, one more thing, okay, I want to
Go for it.
fix actually. The driver of the bus, I don't remember what his name was, when he got to Publix, he left the door open and he was on the bus for 5 minutes. There's no reason to leave the door open. We're losing all that cold air and what makes the bus run a lot more. We're using a lot of unnecessary gas.
Was it
Did you
uncomfortable in the bus when the
What?
doors left open? Did it make the,
Yeah, I
The
was
bus
on the
uncomfortable?
bus with somebody else.
I mean, was it uncomfortable because the bus was open?
You know, he just sat there leaving the door open for no reason in this heat.
Alright,
Can I just bring up one other thing?
one more.
Okay. We talked about getting numbers for the telephone, okay? And I thought of a best way to do that would be to possibly put an article in the paper with a dash of what it's for and have everybody put their cell phone number on there and take it out and put it in a box in the office. And I would go and I would collect them and try to get a list together. I'm trying to make the best way possible for us to get a list of cell phone numbers.
Alright, we brought this to Omar, when Omar was at the last meeting. He was going to look into maybe establishing some kind of database for regular riders, so that if there's a problem, it can get out but we're gonna wait for Omar to come back with, that's really gonna be a vendor function if it's possible at all.
See if
Yeah,
you
but
can
like I said,
consider emails as well.
Yeah, that's how I find things out.
like I said, the best way to get that number would be to write an article in the paper for what it would be for, and people to write their number on it and tear it out and put it in a box.
We did give that idea to Omar, and we haven't gotten it back yet, so let's see what he brings back to us.
Okay.
Mario's.
I know he's working on that, but I can answer that.
Okay. But I'm thinking of the best way we can get people's numbers.
As much as possible, Phyllis, I think we should leave the details of running the buses to the bus professionals. That's Academy Bus.
Okay?
It's just, we got enough to do. Yes, Ed?
One quick question, and I looked over our bills that we get both for petrol and the bus. We are, from what I understand, engaging an extra bus. I brought that to the attention of a prior committee. They said we're getting it for nothing. If we're getting it for nothing, I will be very surprised. Commercial enterprises don't give away $100,000 plus buses for nothing. And I question why we would need it, unless we're getting it for nothing, then we should get two. When the contract calls for 2-hour, I believe, replacement of a down bus.
Ed, my understanding of the contract is that the contractor keeps one bus in reserve so that they can, if there is a mechanical failure, there can be a rapid swap out. Is that about right? And that's, I've actually seen that happen, so
Well,
a couple
I'm
times.
I'm not doubting it, but are we getting it for nothing? And in order to have, in order to have this quick turnaround and replacement of equipment, which one of the considerations for the committee was that they're just around the corner, and they could replace it in a quick manner. I'd just like to know if it's free.
Well, it's included in the contract. Hard to say is it free.
Hope it's free.
You know?
Well, if the bus is not moving and nobody's driving it, it's not costing you anything.
Correct.
The only time you get billed is if the bus moves.
Excuse me, Fausto, could you show me that in the contract?
Well, how could they charge you for a bus that's sitting in their parking lot doing nothing?
I
When you're
could tell
being
you
billed
this.
by the hour,
I
which you
could-
just told us.
We pay
I
for
could-
hours and fuel.
I could lease a Rolls Royce, and the only driving I
Yeah.
did in 3 years is park it in my driveway. And that's still gonna charge me for it.
It's a different thing.
Could you answer that question?
No, I don't
Yeah,
have.
I didn't understand it either, so.
Could that, if there's such a thing as an extra bus sitting there, can that bus be used for instance, going to the port instead of hiring
Yes.
another bus? You know, a $600.
Be careful.
I don't know.
It's not so much in my understanding of this, subject to correction, that it's not so much that there's a designated vehicle sitting there. The concept is if a bus breaks down,
It's
they will
there.
send another bus out to get those people picked
That's-
up and out of the heat.
Ah,
That's
All
right.
right?
An emergency.
It's not like there's a bus there,
With our name on it.
you know,
Okay.
exactly.
No.
Okay.
Exactly.
So it's
And
an
also,
emergency
we-
vehicle.
In another contracts, we have the space for parking spare bus, but not here.
Right.
If we parking the bus here, we have to pay the parking.
Right.
Okay, so it's different here. So the yard is very near to here. When something happen, we have the supervisor here. They call, we send another bus, but take time. Remember, it's depend the times. It is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The traffic is high, so
Yeah.
take more time. But
The two times that I happened to be on property when something happened, one was an accident on North Drive Extension, and the other was a breakdown by the clubhouse. It was about 1 hour. We had a bus ready to go in 1 hour,
Mhm.
so, you know, can't ask for more than that.
David's been waiting.
Hi, Dave.
The extra bus, I would think, would be the same as the on-site supervisors. That's part of the contract, that's written into the hourly rate. The same thing with the cleaning and cleaning of the buses. It's not a separate charge, it's the hourly charge involved in it all.
It's all built in. All right, guys, anything else? Any input?
Talked about speeding before.
Yeah, I noticed a bus really speeding the other day.
you have the bus number?
I can tell you where it was and I can tell you the time. I was standing on my walkway. It was 11:45 yesterday,
This is in the Somerset section.
going
Along the drive.
along the drive, heading toward the clubhouse at 11:45, and I swear he was going 60 miles
It's
an hour.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday, yes.
Now, remember, all the buses have GPS, so you've given them an approximate time and
It was
place.
absolutely 11:45, because I was waiting for the police at my building, and I was standing.
11:45 a.m.
a.m.
And there's no, at that time, he knows where that bus was at exactly 11:45, and if it's been speeding, he'll know. And you guys write drivers up when you find them on the GPS.
I see that the last time we have complained about that, I think I can answer you. We checking on the GPS, we know everything about the bus, so. don't worry.
And I see our security contractor doing the same. He sees him speeding, or worse, sees the car not moving at all. He's right on top of that. Don't worry.
The bus driver that took us to the museum last month at 7 o'clock at night was superb.
What was his name?
It was a lady.
Huh?
She said she's been with the people for a while. She was wonderful. People were so appreciative.
She's a blonde young lady?
I think so, sort of tallish,
That's Maggie.
She was wonderful.
Maggie,
Yeah, maybe,
Maggie.
yeah, she was wonderful.
Ruth, go for it.
The other speeding, you might remember day or time because it was in relation to something else happening. Waltham D reported speeding. I don't know if you,
Yeah, he didn't have a date or time.
he didn't
That's
have a
that-
day
that
or
fellow,
time,
Mr.
but it
Angel,
went,
right?
whatever bus goes by Waltham D speeds.
Okay.
We got one report from a tenant that he saw a speeding bus, but, you know, no time, no date.
That would be route number 3.
Right.
Okay.
I'm gonna just answer
You have
this
a card.
question, I know the answer.
Thank you.
Is there any way to cut down at 5, 6, and 7 o'clock at night on the buses to Publix? We're riding one person at 5 o'clock, two coming back, another bus is empty, another one only has 1 or 2 people on it. We're wasting a lot of money on gasoline and travel time. Is there any way that we could possibly cut down on some of those buses?
What do you think, Mario?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, you didn't hear me?
No.
Okay. At 5, 6, and 7 o'clock, we're getting 3 buses going to Publix. But we don't have anybody on it. At 5 o'clock, there was one person that went on the bus and 2 that came back. And there are 3 buses there with hardly anybody in there. Is there any way for us to cut the time or cut using only one bus at 5 o'clock and one bus at 6 o'clock and one bus at 7?
Do you remember we using the schedule you have? We don't create that schedule. All the buses, when they finish the loop, go to the Publix and then back. The,
All right, so Phyllis, let's say, just for the sake of argument, they have 3 buses, route 1, 2, and 3. They run their routes, they get to the clubhouse, and then they continue to Publix. Let's say we held 2 of them back and only made them change buses and only take 1. What do you think the drivers would be doing if we held back?
I don't know, but
They'd be sitting in their buses
Doing nothing.
doing nothing on the clock. So we've kind of, I think you know that we've kind of addressed this before, and
right, it's just that we're spending so much money, everybody complains about how much money it is, how much the gas is that we have to learn how to cut back a little bit so we don't have such expenses.
all right, do you have an idea that you'd like to propose?
I propose that a number 1 bus leaves the for Publix at 5 o'clock and picks up whoever's there and brings them back to the clubhouse where they can change to the number 2 bus to go home
Okay,
on.
how will that save us money? I'm all for saving money, Phyllis.
It's saving us another bus going, 2 buses going 3 times to Publix at 5, 6, and 7 o'clock.
So what's the driver gonna do while he doesn't go to
Maybe
Publix?
we have to cut the hours.
All right,
Sitting in the parking lot of the clubhouse.
I can't worry about a driver, I have to worry about our money.
Harry, I think what I'm hearing is, that can we try to make it a little more efficient? I don't have a solution, obviously, we leave that to you guys. Take a good look at the schedule.
okay, we can check the schedule and then a new schedule. We can study that.
I mean, one of the things I can think of right away is curtail hours, just don't go to Publix after a certain hour. But there's, the last time I came up, and Dave, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think there were other things besides Publix that people do at night in that park, in that.
You gotta, yeah, maybe, you gotta look at the schedule. The question that keeps coming to me when I hear this kind of discussion is it possible that we could reformulate the schedule more efficiently and do away with 1 bus? Now, I don't know if that's feasible, I really don't. I have seen 3 and 4 buses stacked up over there at Publix, I never exactly understood why.
And everybody sees it, and we always hear about it. So it's obvious inefficiency, but the question is, what's the solution? And I really don't know.
Donald, as I understand it, and I could be corrected because I spoke to a couple of drivers, when I saw 5 buses 9 o'clock in the morning, and for Publix, there weren't 50 people in the store, okay? I asked if the driver or someone keeps a record of the number of passengers on the bus. And what you're referring to is a Band-Aid, but it's a great reference. You have to have that kind of information to reschedule a route, and a route doesn't have to be the same all year long. You have more people here in some, in the season, less people not the season. And that was one of the reasons I brought up the fuel, because I calculated 20 minutes out of every hour, we got an empty bus sitting there running.
And if that bus is rolling, especially with $5 a gallon to diesel, that's something to consider.
Well, that's what I just said before. In other words, I don't know. I hear what the general situation is, and I also understand the nature of what we're told. But I'd really like to know, if we have a bus that has 200,000 miles, I have a feeling it may not be as efficient as a bus that has 2 years and 50,000 miles. And that's money. And it's big money now because we pay for every ounce of fuel. And not only that, when you say it's not up to us to take care of the driver, it's not up to us. It's up to Academy to provide us with the best service they can get, because we're a continuing customer. They were here before and they're here now. And I'm not saying the virus has nothing to do with it. It definitely does. Everything goes up every day. It'll be $6 a gallon next week.
So go for it.
First of all, diesels run just the opposite of gasoline engines. The higher the mileage, the more efficient they are. Most cars require clean oil. The dirtier the oil, the better the diesel runs. It works just the opposite. The more mileage, the better off they are. The diesel engine can probably run 500,000 miles without doing anything to it. And
Provided it keeps running.
as long as you keep running it, the worst thing you can do to a diesel engine is shut it off and restart it. I only have 45 years in the automobile business, so I have a little bit of knowledge of the internal combustion engine.
I'm very happy for you partaking
So,
that position,
But
but you're talking
the more hours I had on
generalities.
my boat's engine, the less fuel I used. And when I switched over to number two heating fuel, which is technically illegal, I got even better efficiency on it. Just how it is. I don't understand. Yes, Bob?
On that theory,
Wait, hang on, Bob's gone.
on that theory, you'd never retire a bus, you just run it to 250, 300 million miles, because
You
the
do,
longer it runs.
Ed, they do.
most tractor trailers will run 2 million miles, easily.
Well, we're not over the road buses. If this was a Greyhound scenic cruiser, I'd accept it. Not on a jitney that goes back and forth.
Let Bobby go.
At the last meeting, a couple of guests questioned changing the route to include stops at an Aldi's.
Yeah.
Was that ever done? People were very interested.
Aldi?
Aldi's, going to that shopping center and eliminating, I guess, the one across the street where all the stores have closed.
It does go down this way.
Let's go to Aldi.
You're
That's
talking about
okay.
Kmart?
It seems
No,
like there's nothing doing at that Kmart shopping center.
Oh,
not yet, anyway.
I don't know, but I know people ask,
You got
no, I'm talking about
Aldi's there.
Aldi's.
You talking about Ollie's or Aldi's?
Aldi's. People
Is it
last
supermarket?
month.
State Road 7.
It's a
on the
supermarket,
back.
there's one on,
There's one
hold on guys, there's one on State Road 7, there's one on Okeechobee North Side.
The Okies.
He stops there one day a week.
Well, I'm just curious, people last week at the meeting all asked about that, and I just want to know.
It goes on a Thursday.
We have to
on
check in the
a
schedule, it's the same.
I know quite a few Century Villagers go there, mostly for groceries. And then Dom and I were discussing this morning when we were in the car. It seems like we're taking many people of limited means to the most expensive supermarket that Florida has. And is there another alternative? And Dominic says, well, Walmart supermarket is definitely, better on groceries. Is it possible for us to make that a more regular stop? That's on Okeechobee North Side as well, but on the other side of the park.
It goes to Aldi's on
Come on,
Thursday.
guys. Let's all talk one at a time. Yes, Dave?
Well, everybody here is having a piecemeal solution. This is not the way to do that. If you're gonna ask me how to change the schedule, I would say no buses leave Century Village after 5 o'clock.
That's,
Now, that's something that the committee has to take up. And then I'm almost pretty confident that from 5 to 9, you could do the internal routes with 2 buses, but the schedule might have to be broadened. The pickup times might have to be broadened a little bit from 5 to 9. That's just a suggestion. But when one person says, let's go here, let's take this off, let's stop for it, that doesn't work. You have to make a decision, you have to come up with a plan. And of course, unfortunately, Ed, you're wrong about that. There are schedules that have to be kept. We can't tell them, well, we don't want you for 2 hours and you have to supply somebody for 2 hours. That doesn't work,
Yeah.
because you're going to get charged more per hour for that, because those people have to work on timesheets as well. So that's just my suggestion. There's no reason I'm thinking there's no reason to do this piecemeal back and forth. Get the committee together with Omar, they're the professionals, and just go that way.
I just heard the bones of a motion.
No, I'm not on the committee.
Really?
No, I'm not on the committee. But I'm just telling you from 7+ years of being on the committee,
You could fix that.
that's would be my suggestion. Now, it may not be very popular with a whole lot of people. You're going to
Exactly
have
right. But
static about it, but you're going to have static about it from everybody. But what's going to be best for the overall village? So that's something for the committee to look at and for their consideration. I've
Look,
said enough.
we have budget time coming up, and it's gonna have to account for a $2 raise in gallonage on fuel. He's gonna have to make so money doesn't grow on trees, and you guys might have to make a hard decision, a hard recommendation, and I think I heard a good suggestion right there. Does anyone wanna make a motion to explore this idea?
What is the idea?
The idea is to eliminate external buses after 5 p.m. and possibly eliminate one internal bus between 5 and 9.
That's an academy question. We should be talking to them first.
They have to be involved in
They
absolutely.
have to.
Sure.
Okay, let me
On this
explain
question,
something. When you go to change the schedule,
from bus riders,
Everybody has to get into it.
okay? What the impact would be of doing that?
Absolutely.
And you need to hear from people who actually ride the bus and don't depend on their own vehicle.
How many riders here today? Good deal. How about this? How about an article in the paper? This was discussed. We'd like your feedback.
I was thinking of a form in the paper to fill out for get somewhere in.
Make it easy.
All
Email.
right,
YouGoReporter@gmail.com.
okay.
Sound good, everyone?
Please be aware that if you put this in place right away, Academy took our contract based on X amount of hours.
Right.
I don't know what effect that would have.
It's also,
So I try to explain that. If you go to change the schedule, it's no easy. It's no, I go to put one stop here and then this bus don't go there. No, we have to calculate many things.
And it might be another negotiation, an addendum to the contract, but.
Yeah, it's a
before-
traffic, it's a safety, where you go to put the new stop, time. It's many things you have to do for change.
But before we even get to that step, why don't we just see what the ridership feels about it?
I will do that, or I will put that piece in for July.
So tabled for next month? Is that okay with
Yeah.
everyone?
But we're missing a lot of our riders because there are a lot of snowbirds that are not here.
Okay.
I think you will find the ridership between 5 and 9 through the season is not much greater than it is now.
Other than on show nights.
Show nights are
That would
still
be
gonna be
effective.
covered by internal.
Right.
All right.
Well, what do you want in the article? Just the outside buses stopping at 5? Or are you talking about stopping one?
The committee has discussed stopping the external service after 5 PM in order to save money and to account for the high price in fuel. How does the riders feel about it? We really only want to hear from riders. All right, guys. Huh?
You're going to the doctor.
No, my alarm goes
Can I
off in
just
9
say
minutes.
one thing?
Yes.
This to Bobby. Bobby, Shoe Locker came to the Kmart Shoe Shopping Center.
Shoe locker.
What?
Shoe locker.
Shoe Locker, whatever it is. And Kmart, and El Presidente is going to open very soon.
How soon?
Tomorrow.
They here never 2 years.
It's
Don't
opening,
forget.
it's opening tomorrow.
I just know that
Who did?
people.
Who did you talk to?
I spoke to somebody
Donna.
working there,
Yeah, that's what the sign said.
This lady
and they
has
told
an
me
answer.
very soon.
Okay, hang
they will
on.
new-
Let me cut you off, Phyllis. I'm sorry. Go ahead, man. You've
No,
been sitting
thank
there
you,
all
I
day.
appreciate it. According to the signs that were up, it's
Yeah.
supposed to open tomorrow,
Which one?
El Presidente.
Wonderful.
I'll do it.
No, it
It's
was
been
supposed
there
to
for
open
2
2
years.
years ago.
So the opening is imminent, like you said. You said tomorrow.
Tomorrow, according to all the signs out there.
I'll shoot over there tomorrow myself and see if it actually happened. And then, if that's true, we definitely need to get them on the schedule. That's a big deal.
Oh, there are other stores here too.
Yeah.
Ollie's.
But yeah, I'll,
Well, they've been going there anyway.
it has been mentioned here
Hasn't
Hold on, guys.
been going
a number of
there
times.
anyway.
on the impact of rising gas costs. Reminiscent of the fact that we must produce a budget for approval, I believe in October. You really want to watch and think about expenses. The delegate assembly, the delegates are not made up principally of bus riders. And it's gotten very scary in the past. You want to look carefully at Judge Bolton's decision. The judge did not say we have to have a bus system at all. What he said was, if we do have a bus system, it must be a common expense. We really have to be careful in terms of when that budget gets voted on, that you don't have a wave of negativism about the entire contract. And this gas thing could push you right up to the limit.
David, if you recall, the negotiations for the bus were ongoing before we finalized the budget, and
Yeah.
I did a little bit of an estimate and increased, the bus and fuel expense, but not to the extent that we contracted for, and not to the extent of the fuel. I will say that David said you have to have a plan, and I agree 100%. But I disagree with his plan because I think the right way to review a bus schedule is to have the numbers of how many riders are riding at any particular time, and I find it very interesting that at Pembroke Pines, they not only know the total number of riders per day, they know the number of riders on each bus. And I think that's the study that I would recommend, and you need to take time to do it and have facilities. I'm telling you, as I spoke to 2 or 3 bus drivers, they don't count how many people are on. And so you're just shooting stars with a BB gun.
Some years ago, which you may or may not remember, I recommended that a scanner be developed at the entrance to the bus. They're not that terribly expensive, one-time charge. The rider gets on with his ID and goes whoosh,
Absolutely.
and then that is how you develop the records you're talking about.
I think it's.
And I don't know why that isn't being done. A whole lot of nonsense about technical complexity. This is baloney.
The
These
information
scanners,
is on this.
these scanners are not expensive as a one-time expense, and every bus should have them to put your ID card through.
Didn't we have that on the last buses?
Yes, we did. Yes, we
The
did.
driver took
Yeah, I
the
thought,
ID?
Once we had the COVID breakout, remember, we did not stop bus service.
Right.
But in order for safety, we discontinued swiping the buses so the bus driver and the customer didn't have to touch the cards all the time. All they had to do was show the card.
we did, okay.
But TransDev did have that in place, and they were using it. So, and I think this company should also develop something like that for us.
Why would it be necessary to hand a card to the driver? Why can't
That's
the
the type of
owner
scanner they had.
do the scanner?
That's the type of scanner they had.
Okay.
Yes, he had to take it in.
Correct.
Right.
I'd
Mario,
like
could
to
we look
suggest
into,
that-
hang on, Ed, hang on one sec. Mario, could we look into a scanner for the buses? I mean, nobody's more suited for this than you guys. We can't be the only client that wants this. We want to be able to, all of our ID cards have a magnetic strip, this has my address in it.
Talk to a CAM at Pembroke Pines. I
Consider it done.
To develop the numbers you're talking about, they must be doing a record of every rider.
I was
And
gonna
that's the first,
recommend.
that's the first transit
I
account,
was
right?
going to recommend the motion be made, not to just research it. It worked before, it should work again. We could find out how we did it, what equipment we had, and do it. It can't be as expensive as what we're spending now that we
I
should.
can find that out. Done. All right, guys, we're creeping up on our deadline then.
Make a
Liz?
motion, we adjourn.
All right, unless anybody else has anything else.
Second.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your patience.
By the way, that was your
Can I ask you one question?
your bank, just call it. Just spoke to Bonnie.
Any new buses coming shortly? Or will it be another 3 or 4 months?
I don't touch that.
Mr. Black is
Go to the doctor.
I
And then that's
understand.
how-
I like that. Andre.
So you missed the size on
My decision.
No, not here.
I sometimes think you're moving tight. some animals around.
Spend money when it's not there. I gave an example, I want to see someone and they keep paying for the ones in the election. I think we should go back to school bus.
How did you do
Hello, sir.
that? 6 months.
Since the pandemic.
During the pandemic, they made up pretty good.
There's fish in there, and I put
See,
ice.
I don't know.
And fish was delivered to me on Friday.
Did you put a bill in?
What?
Okay,
Did you put a bill in there? A bill.
Anything you need, we
No,
talk.
and this was ready. The way it came to me is the way I gave it to you. And it came Friday, so it's pretty fresh.
Who do you get it from?
I get a delivery of food from a place called Klein Kitchen. It's
Very good.
free. For me, it's free. I don't know. And they're black kosher.
But he's not now,
What?
And I spoke to them, and I recommend that
trying to save you.
but people should know
And I send
nothing
them,
is free.
but
That
I
you should
send
make
them,
a
I
double.
send them a donation every 2 months. Because that's the best thing to do. We don't want everything, but you have to see how they send the package.
Oh, I do. I get it on Thursday.
You get one?
I got one on Thursday, and
Phyllis's
I got
idea is
a
that many of
brochure
them
and
just
sent it to every person. And they do have money short.
And what they have in it comes in a great shopping bag, and it gives you,
Where that's at.
candles for Shabbos, and they give you a prayer for Shabbos.
And they gave you shmur or matzah for gas.
Thank you.
I don't remember, they
That
gave
big
us,
flat matzah.
yeah, they gave you 1 piece, I think, 1 or 2 pieces.
They're very expensive.
I know, they're
Oh, every day's a sale day.
$50 a
So
pound.
my always taking days, combos, I used to
So
cry.
I can say,
Never like.
I don't do
They like
email, but if
TSS.
you give me a phone number, I can call you.
and that's my personal.
Any, every.
I cried when they.
And I don't
closed
eat the
TSS.
fish every week.
They had everything.
So I called you the other day, but you weren't in, I wanted you to stamp on my house for the fish. Yeah, but you weren't in, and I didn't have a message because
We
they,
had the sporting bet
whatever.
somewhere.
But,
I think you
No,
should
Modell.
take the time.
but I usually give it to my neighbor.
Dirt's closed.
There's ice in
So
there.
you gotta be certain
Oh, we wanna have a meeting.
One in Hampstead and there's one in Chestnut.
Oh.
I moved out to,
They charge you $2 an hour.
I should have gone to Italy like I wanted.
You should take the time.
Dirt's is all the Canadians training to
Well,
lead
we
his
don't
off.
need you for the 2 hours.
I will do that.
No, what do
I like
you do
TSS.
with
No, I just feel it's a losing battle, no matter how you look at it.
Now, listen,
Downtime, you get paid.
honestly, I got plenty of other things to do.
That's the closest to what TSS was.
5 days a week.
And get a hand job, a blow job,
And we
and
not let the
you
courts
can buy dresses,
money.
watches.
Get your
And
feet
you don't have to come-
Interior of the number 2 bus is disgusting.
You fulfill their
About
balance
little
of
The
things,
worst,
and
even
I'm
worse than
talking
that
about the whole,
was,
why are we
Will
paying
my
for
ear.
what we not
You're
getting?
absolutely right,
So
but
why did you set them on motion?
I was paying attention, I'm sorry, but
Don't be sorry, but at the last
They had a-
officers meeting,
I go to
I
my
brought up
generation
with
lawyers,
type
we're honest Jews.
to a
I brought up the fact that we're
They
running
sold
empty
pigs, they
buses.
sold chickens.
Pretty much that.
Fried chickens.
The whole thing is,
Half gallon of milk is
I
Don't
$1.07.
like being in, like I said,
I would have
Once every
had
4 or
that
5 months, I
registered.
go on military just for a
And
while. I
bring
walk
up
around in there because they can't believe
There's
certain things that I
If I were to read it, I wouldn't understand it.
Yes, you would, because what
No,
I have,
I have an old one like that.
and it's
no, what I have
There's
can't.
benefits to TVs.
And you-
I'm not good at understanding things. If my son were to read it and explain it to me, I'd understand it a lot better. You know, my son is a very bright boy, he's a financial consultant. He works for a very large company.
I
He
was
said
a
he
senior
has
financial
a handful of
officer
documents.
and reported to small people. Chairman of
As
the
I told
board
him,
of Merrill
I
Lynch,
explained to her,
chairman
You can't
of the
just
board
live
of
on
that
cost.
whatever she needs,
and I
just call me.
had 1,000 plus people report
Whatever
directly to me,
comes
and
to
I was
us.
33 years old.
Oh, well, I don't know what he does exactly, but right now he's working from home, he works for somebody or other, and he travels all over the world.
Well, you should give him some of that stuff if he's a
I was
financial.
there the other day.
I mentioned about the T-bills, he didn't mention anything bad.
All I did,
We
I offered
are
to help her
entitled
if she needed
to a
help.
refund from,
She wants to get rid of the scooter, if you know anything about the scooter.
okay, I brought that up at the office meeting, they turned it down.
Some things you just don't, they just don't.
You know, sometimes
Yeah,
I will come to an understanding, I will come to a finance. I just think that I'm a losing battle.
You are, but that doesn't mean you give up. You know, you and I spoke, right?
They send these things in the mail.
You know, I got 2 calls from people who were at that meeting who said, I know you spoke.
$2 off any.
But they don't know what we spoke
$4
about.
I told them sex.
Oh, okay.
Does that pass muster?
You're very good.
Step right in.
That reminds me.
Okay,
Thank you for your
We'll
gift.
see on
Oh,
Friday
my
night.
pleasure.
So your truck is, oh, this car, I don't know.
And David,
So he says, is this
I will
what-
keep you
Said you have
informed
to,
as to my
you buy all the
choice.
stuff, it takes more than a
And
week to
maybe
get
I'll
rid of
take
it.
it.
That's good for the public.
And put them in the paper,
I don't know, that's okay.
okay? But you take care and you be well.
Thank you.
Sign goes on.
Same to you. Do you eat fish?
Of course I
Do you eat gefilte fish?
I eat gefilte.
2.5.
Oh.
No jack mackerel though.
If you buy 2 of them.
I don't know,
I tried it, and I eat every kind of fish.
I don't eat gefilte.
It didn't taste good in my, it didn't feel good in my
I
mouth.
like fish.
It tasted fine.
You like gefilte?
I used to get all the time tilapia
A long time.
and shake, it's just like a flat fish, and shake and bake it.
That's
Oh, so
that's a deal for me.
I can't eat fish, I'm allergic.
I don't have to have it.
Someone left, is that yours?
Yes, it's mine, I just remembered, but don't have it in front of me
I like
today.
The old
Everybody
fall.
have a good day, and
No, I
Straight up.
well,
Right,
Yeah, my wife is somewhat allergic
I
to
used to go to
shells.
Sainsbury,
Like shrimp, clams, 20 clams.
no children, and I pick it up.
I don't know why we had to get to the front line.
I knew he was gonna do this.
That guy is dangerous.
Wants to trigger the dispute.
Schedule, yeah.
Good luck. Put a wood cut down on it.
Schedule isn't easy to deal with.
Good try. Several members have tried, including this one.
I locked the front door.
I'll tell you who used to do it. Who's that guy?
If they did agree,
Yeah, but even he had limits on what he said. He says, he never was able to solve the 5 buses at Publix. He tried.
To me, it's very simple. No bus leaves out Century Village. They're all internal buses. You get them to park a city bus, you gotta go. That's where you gotta
That
go.
was the original system.
No external
It
buses.
was an
well, I mean,
internal.
that would be another good suggestion.
You were here the day that I brought
You
in
gotta
palm
take
training.
baby steps.
Then it just started to metastasize.
Barbara Cornish added 20 stops.
Yeah,
While she was
really
in
did.
here.
Well, I was on the committee when she was
Yeah.
in oversight of that.
Yeah.
I brought in Palmtran. They were willing to bring, we have 3 buses, 2 here in Oki and 1 on Haverhill. Bring them in, come to the clubhouse, that's a stop.
Right.
And they left the guy right up, they wouldn't even pay attention to him.
Of course not.
Because it would cost $250,000 to make that stop, but you would lose, turn it off. You would lose the external bus system ultimately. So it would be a net savings.
Well, yeah, but I mean,